All right, good afternoon. I'm told I have to check if the sound is working. Sound is working. Yes, exactly. That I like. You know, it's getting ready for my Madison Square Garden debut. Okay, let's start with this morning. All right. Hi. This morning, as you may have seen, the Secretary General took part in a joint virtual press conference with Dr. Tedros of the World Health Organization as he launched the Global Vaccination Strategy. The Secretary General said that vaccine inequality is the best ally of the COVID-19 pandemic. It is allowing variants to develop and run wild, condemning the world to millions more deaths and prolonging an economic slowdown that could cost trillions of dollars, he said. Mr. Guterres noted that a plethora of global, regional, and bilateral initiatives have failed to deliver, not getting us anywhere close to the benchmark of 10% vaccination in all countries by the end of September, which was the first benchmark set. He said that WHO's new global COVID-19 vaccination strategy is a costed, coordinated, and credible path out of the pandemic for everyone, everywhere. It is up to member states to do their part, to come together, doing everything that is needed for this strategy to succeed, he underscored. Those remarks were shared with you. And as you may have seen yesterday, the Secretary General spoke in the afternoon at the Security Council's open meeting on Ethiopia. He was very clear that all humanitarian aid in Ethiopia is still not reaching anywhere close to the levels that are needed in Tigray. All efforts should be squarely focused on saving lives and avoiding a massive humanitarian tragedy. We will continue to play our mandated role and work with the government of Ethiopia and with our partners to support millions of people in need of humanitarian assistance in Tigray, Amhara, and Afar and across the country, he said. Mr. Guterres called on Ethiopian authorities to allow us to do this without any hindrance and to facilitate and enable our work with the urgency that this situation demands. Our humanitarian colleagues report today that the delivery of humanitarian supplies to Tigray remains heavily constrained via the only road access through the Afar province. In the past week, 80 trucks arrived in Tigray carrying food, nutrition, and other assistance. But we've been telling you really almost for quite some time now, we need 100 trucks to enter Tigray every day to meet the needs on the ground. Much needed fuel and medicine have not been allowed in since July. A second flight by the European Union's humanitarian air bridge also arrived yesterday, carrying 10.6 tons of cargo, including nutrition supplies. While this is welcome, it is only a small fraction of the supplies needed. The lack of commercial supplies arriving to Tigray has led to severe shortages of essential commodities in markets. Prices of those commodities have also surged in recent months. For example, the price of cooking oil has increased by 433% in Mekele, the capital of Tigray. Despite challenges due to the depletion of supplies, fuels, and cash, our partners and us have continued to respond to some of the most urgent needs in Tigray and scaled up responses in Amhara and Afar, which have also been impacted. Since August, our partners have provided food to more than 440,000 people in Amhara and 72,000 in Afar. Moving on to Afghanistan and another humanitarian crisis, the World Health Organization said today, since August 30th, 9 flights have arrived in Afghanistan with a total of 186 metric tons of health supplies. This is enough to benefit 2.5 million people. WHO said the essential medicines and other urgently needed supplies have been distributed across the country. For its part, the UN Refugee Agency said it's scaling up its response to provide life-saving assistance to internally displaced persons due to conflict in Afghanistan. UNHCR said that nearly 4,500 people were supported through emergency assistance to meet their immediate needs. And as you know, last month, the humanitarian community launched the Afghanistan Flash Appeal, calling for $606 million to provide life-saving assistance to more than 10 million Afghan men, women, and children. this help is needed to cover, this money is needed to cover the costs for the most vulnerable until the end of this year. Despite the outpouring of support and global attention of the dire situation, the flash appeal remains only 35% funded. And the sixth session of the Constitutional Committee for Small Body for Syria will convene in Geneva starting Monday, August 18th. The co-chairs will for the first time meet on October 17th, together with the UN Special Envoy for Syria, Geir Pedersen, to prepare for the session. The committee sessions will be closed. As Mr. Pedersen told the Security Council not too long ago, the co-chairs' agreement on methodology is based on 3 pillars that form the basis of the Special Envoy's engagement with them: respect for the terms of reference and core rules of procedure, the submission of text of basic constitutional principles in advance of the meetings, and regular co-chair meetings with Mr. Pedersen before and during the coming session. The co-chairs will also be committed to setting provisional dates for future meetings and discussing a work plan. Note was shared with you on that. Couple of peacekeeping notes. Peacekeepers from the UN mission in Mali have been assisting in the evacuation of wounded Malian soldiers following a complex attack carried out yesterday by presumed members of an extremist group. The attack took place in the southwest of Bandiangara in the Mopti region, which has seen quite a bit of the violence. A number of soldiers from the Malian armed forces were also killed in the attack. In a tweet, Paul Njai, the acting force commander for the UN, expressed the mission's condolences to the families of those killed and wished a speedy recovery to the wounded. And from South Sudan, the UN mission there tells us that it's providing logistical support to set up 3 special courts in Rumbek state. The aim of these new courts is to oversee fair and speedy trials for criminal cases in that area. The mission also recently handed over 3 new police facilities to national authorities. These facilities will include detention sites for both women and men, a fully refurbished police station, and a pharmacy for police officers. As part of its efforts to respond to COVID-19, the mission has handed over a 24-bed isolation unit to the Nimule Hospital in eastern Equatoria to help manage and control infectious diseases. Excuse me. And turning to Pakistan, our humanitarian colleagues report that there was an earthquake there earlier of 5.9 on the Richter scale in the Balochistan province. The Pakistan Red Crescent Society has reported 41 deaths as of this afternoon, Pakistan time, and these numbers are expected to rise. We are engaging with the National Disaster Management Authority, which has indicated that they do not expect to request international assistance. We're also in contact with the Balochistan Provincial Disaster Management Authority. The main sources of electricity in the region in the area is out, but there are no reports of disruption of water or phone connections so far. The UN Development Programme today released its Global Multidimensional Poverty Index, which reveals stark inequalities among ethnic groups. The index, which examines the level and composition of multidimensional poverty across 109 countries, covering 5.9 billion people, found that disparities in multidimensional poverty across ethnic and racial groups are greater than disparities across geographical and subnational regions. For example, in Bolivia, indigenous communities account for about 44% of the population, but represent 75% of multidimensionally poor people. The figures are also stark in India, where 5 out of 6 multidimensionally poor people were from lower tribes or castes. And today is World Cotton Day. The aim of the day is to raise visibility for the cotton sector, as well as to raise awareness for the critical role that it plays in economic development, international trade, and poverty alleviation. The observance also aims to use cottons as an example to highlight the importance of sustained, inclusive, and sustainable growth. Sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. And lastly, our good friends at the Food and Agricultural Organization in Rome say that world food commodity prices rose in September. This was led by tightening supply conditions and robust demand for staples such as wheat and palm oil. In September, FAO food price index was up 1.2% from August and 32.8% higher than in September of last year. Voila, Mr. Bays.
I've got quite a few, but I'll start off with two. The Human Rights Council in Geneva had a resolution before it to renew the group of eminent experts, the human rights investigation in Yemen, and that resolution was defeated. Does the Secretary-General believe there is still a need to investigate human rights, possible war crimes, and a need for an accountability in Yemen?
Yes, is the short answer. The longer answer is that it was obviously a decision by member states, as they do, and it's their right and responsibility to take those decisions. We will continue to press for accountability in Yemen, a place in which civilians have seen repeated crimes committed against them.
And one on Ethiopia. Yesterday's exchange between the Secretary-General and the Ethiopian ambassador in the Security Council. The Secretary-General demanded that documents be produced and shared with the UN to back up the new allegations the ambassador made. Has there been any contact, I know it's only a few hours, but has there been any contact from the Ethiopians to the UN in this period since?
No, I mean, I had a discussion with the Secretary-General a short while ago about this. Nothing has been received. Monsieur Abadi, and it is nice to see you in the flesh, in person.
Thank you, Stéphane. It's good to see you. The Iranian foreign minister said that the negotiations between his country and Saudi Arabia are on a positive path. What does the Secretary General have to offer to encourage these negotiations? And if they were successful, what impact would they have on the region?
Look, I think discussions between Saudi Arabia and Iran are extremely important and are frankly, let's be frank, are critical to the stability of the region. So we very much welcome those talks, and as of course we are standing by to help in any way we can, should we be asked. But the point is that they're talking, and that's definitely a good thing. Benno.
Follow-up to James, following the Security Council yesterday, is there any meeting or conversation planned with the Prime Minister of Ethiopia? Is there something coming up which you can foresee?
I mean, I know if there's no scheduled phone call between the Secretary General and the Prime Minister. We obviously remain at the disposal of the Ethiopian government should they want to send us anything. But in the meantime, and I think it's important to underscore, that our focus is on delivering humanitarian aid. I mean, what was said yesterday was very clear by the Secretary General, but that in no way distracts us from the task at hand, which is supporting the civilian population in Tigray and in other regions of Ethiopia that need help.
And if I may, another question. Can you confirm that the investigation in Fabrizio Hochschild has concluded?
No. I mean, I have no new information, is what I can tell you. As soon as, if I have and able to announce something, I will, but I have nothing in that department. Mr. Bulcati.
Thank you, Stéphane. As my colleagues in this room, I'm covering currently the committees meetings, GA committees meetings, and the other day I've approached the diplomat, Ukrainian diplomat in First Committee, Mr. Lakamov, and I was seeking to ask him a quite precise question, quite substantial question, but he refused, which is okay. And he explained his refusal, saying that all Russian media are terrorists, quote, terrorists and propaganda terrorists. Given that, may I ask you the question, please, can you assess that in terms of how does that correspond to the principles of media freedom? And how does that correspond to the rules of UNHQ, United Nations headquarters? I mean, when the diplomat of one country literally says to the journalists of other country that the journalists of this country are literally terrorists. Could you please comment on that? Thank you.
I clearly was not present at this interesting exchange that you had. What? No, and Alan, I don't question for a moment what you said to me. I'm just saying I was not present. For our part, I think it is clear that we strongly support every media organization that is accredited and present in this building, and their right to ask questions. Member states and delegates answer questions posed to them in the way that they see fit. Oui, Ray, pardon.
Thank you, Stéphane. I don't know how many countries from Middle East and North Africa have committed to zero carbon emission by 250. It looks like the Emirates announced today that they will commit to that. Have any comment on that? Thank you.
Yes, we've seen the announcement by the UAE of its intention to achieve net zero by 2050. We very much welcome this very important announcement, and the Secretary General, I know, looks forward to the UAE submitting as soon as possible a new nationally determined contribution in line with this ambitious goal that the government set for itself. And we also encourage other states in the Gulf to follow this example ahead, especially ahead of the upcoming COP26 in Glasgow. I mean, I think it's up on the probably up on the UNFCCC website. It's all pretty transparent. We can Florencia in my office can help you guide you through that data. Frank.
Yeah. Of the people that were UN officials that were expelled from Ethiopia, where are they now? And do you expect those same officials to be let back in the country?
They're all out of the country in different places. I don't know where their exact location. They're all working remotely. We are looking to send in additional staff into Ethiopia, and we're in discussions. And visas have been applied for, and we're in discussions with them.
Based on what the conversation or the exchange between the Secretary General and the Ethiopian envoy yesterday, do you expect to be able to send in other officials, but these officials remain persona non grata, even though it's kind of illegal?
I'm not going to repeat what we've said about the applicability of the concept persona non grata. I mean, I think that's pretty clear. So that's our position, remains our legal position. Obviously, there are issues of safety of personnel and of individuals that's at stake. We do expect, and we are looking to add and increase the number of people. We've put in visa applications. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I don't see anything. Pam Falk. Pam, and then we'll go back to the room.
Yes, Steph. On the WHO SG press conference, will there be any follow-up on this strategy and what comes next? Thank you.
Well, I think both the Secretary General and Dr. Tedros very clear. A lot of what comes next will be for member states to also play their part. But I know WHO will be updating regularly moving forward, as they have, frankly. Iftikhar.
Thank you, Steph. Also great to see Mr. Abadi there. In your opening remarks, you referred to the earthquake in Pakistan's Balochistan province with a death toll of 41, which is latest one. But do you have any reaction from the Secretary General?
Our condolences to all the victims and our sympathy to the families of the victims. As we've said, we have told the authorities we are ready to help. We are in touch with the national authorities, the provincial authorities. At this point, it does not look like they are requesting any international help. I mean, we know that Pakistan has a has an effective emergency disaster system. We are obviously ready to help and ready to help mobilize international help should that be needed or requested. Mr. Bays.
Thank you.
You are.
Couple more. Following up from Mr. Abadi's question, I know the Secretary-General has floated the idea of some sort of regional mechanism in the Gulf, sort of similar to the Helsinki process that led to the OSCE. So does he, I think he previously also said he felt the time wasn't right for that. Does he believe perhaps with these discussions between Iran and Saudi Arabia that it would be a good time to suggest that idea again?
I think, to use an Arabic term, shway shway. These are extremely important talks. I don't think anyone would want to overburden the expectation, though we very much hope they keep moving in a positive way. And the Secretary General, I feel like Mike Pence. The Secretary General continues to feel that, you know, at some point a platform where the countries in the Gulf could come together to talk about how they can cooperate on issues of mutual interest would be beneficial. But it's clear that the Saudi-Iranian relationship is a critical backbone to any such project.
COVID-19, I did hear most of the Secretary-General today. I'm afraid I had to go before he finished, so I don't know I don't think he was asked this question, but has the Secretary-General had his third booster shot? Because my understanding is that he probably is eligible under, under
he has
New York rules,
Yeah.
and you have said in the past that the United Nations will completely follow the host city and the host country's rules. So is he planning to get his third shot, as you said he hasn't had it?
He has not had it. I'm not aware of him at this point for any plans to have it.
And is that because he's opposed to the third shot, that he thinks it would be better for people to get to this 70% by the middle of next year before people have third shots?
Look, I think he's discussed this issue of booster shots, I think, in a number of interviews, and it's not. I think from where we you know, the WHO has a very clear position on it, and they're in the medical lead. We also think that there's a broader issue that there is enough capacity to produce enough vaccine for people to get the shots that they need. We very, very much need to get as many shots in the arms of people in those countries that don't have access to the vaccine to protect all of us from the variant.
And finally, the numbers of people in this building. I know the Secretary-General raised at various points the level of how many people needed to come into the office and whatever.
Yeah.
This is just on my observation, but there don't seem to be many people in the building. Are the number of people that the Secretary-General wanted to return to work at UN headquarters actually turning up?
Listen, the important thing is that the organization is functioning as it should. We're continuing to look at numbers and capacity, and I will leave it at that for the time being. Okay, I don't think there are any more. Okay, thank you all. No Monica today, but we shall see you tomorrow.